So I'm going to take you through the starting of this introductory project for ionic bonding. So on the following slides, you're going to be combining pictures to form an ionic compound. You'll then be able to write the formula and the name after you determined how the compound forms. So I've got a few samples here for you to start out with, and then I'm going to let you try this on your own. So the first one, we're going to take this. We've got our metal here in blue, and we've got our in red here, our non-metal. Our metal always goes first, so we're going to turn that around so we can kind of see it. We can look at the name, and then we have our non-metal. And you can see that there's arrows and points here. And if you bring these together, the arrows and the points match up. So we've got calcium here. Calcium has two arrows here, and we need to try to match that up with the chlorine. Well, the chlorine only has one. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to duplicate that piece. And now it will fit in here, and now all of calcium's points are filled. So when we're naming this compound, when we want to do that, we're going to give this a formula. This would be calcium. So we've got one of those, and then we've got two of the chlorines. So we need to tell people that we have two of those, and what we use is subscripts. And if you're working with these slides, if you go control comma, that will make that into a subscript. And then control comma again, we'll pull it out of the subscript so that when we go to naming the compound, we'll be able to do that. So if we want to name this compound, we're going to write in the name of the metal, which is just the name of the metal. We don't have to change anything for that. And then if it's an element here, instead of something called a polyatomic ion, which I'll show you in our next example, if it's just a non-metal here element, then we're going to just name that, but we're going to change the ending from "ine" to "ide." So this is going to go from chlorine to chloride. Like oxygen would go from oxygen to oxide. Sulfur would go from sulfur to sulfide. So there's lots of examples of that. You've probably heard of fluoride or fluorine for your teeth. They talk about getting fluoride for your teeth. So fluorine would be the element, and then the compound that fluorine would be in would end in fluoride. So like I said, this is how we're going to do these, and I've got some examples on the end. Now, if the metal that we have has an asterisk after it, then we're going to have to put how many arrows there are in parentheses using Roman numerals after you list the metal. Here with bismuth and nitrate, you can see that bismuth has 3 prongs. So I'm going to need to move my nitrate up here. I've got to turn it around so it's going to fit into that prong. But again, if I do this, I don't have enough to fill up these other arrows. So I'm going to have to duplicate that to be able to fill up all of those arrows. And once I do that, you can see that that's going to work out well. Now, how do we deal with this as far as the formula is concerned? Well, bismuth is easy. But then we've got 3 nitrates, and these nitrates have 2 different elements in them. So we need to make sure that folks understand when we do this that we have 3 of these that we're working with. And the way we do that is with using parentheses. So I'm going to put that nitrate in parentheses. So there's my nitrate ion, and I need to tell people that I have 3 of those that I'm working with. So this is my nitrate. I'm going to get that set as far as my subscripts. And then I'm going to show people that I needed 3 of those nitrate ions by putting a 3 outside of that parentheses. And you've seen this before back when we were working with percent composition and that sort of thing. You got kind of used to multiplying through that parentheses. Now you can kind of understand why we had those parentheses to begin with. All right, then we need to talk about how we're going to name this. So this bismuth, you'll notice, has an asterisk here. And I'll explain why it has an asterisk when we get further into writing formulas and compounds. But for right now, you just need to know that you need to put parentheses here, and however many prongs are coming out of that metal, you need to write that number in Roman numerals after the metal. Now, if it doesn't have a asterisk at it, you don't have to write, and you should not write those parentheses in there. That's improper formatting. Then we just, for these that are multi-element atoms, we are ions, we end up, those are called polyatomic ions. We just write down the name of that. We don't have to change it at all, and we should not change it. So there is our formula. That's bismuth 3 nitrate. All right. We have aluminum and sulfate coming at where we have our aluminum. Again, we're going to have to turn this. And if we bring our sulfate over here and we turn that, we can get that to fit in here with this aluminum. But the problem is that we still haven't filled up this arrow. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to duplicate that again. And now we've got to duplicate our sulfates to get those to work. I'm going to move a sulfate up here. If I move this one up, it'll go with these two arrows. And then if I do another one, go and Control V. And now I've got all of the prongs filled for my aluminum and my sulfate. So what would the formula for that guy look like? Well, it's going to be Al. We have 3 of those. And then our sulfate, we had 2 of those. And then our sulfate, we have 3 of those. But again, we have to put those in parentheses so that people understand that that 3 applies to the entire thing. Then I'm going to go back and remember Control, comma, gives me my subscripts, and you should use your subscripts. You need to get used to using those so that things are properly formatted. And then the name of this one is aluminum. And since this doesn't have an asterisk up here, I'm just going to go ahead and name my polyatomic ion. And there is my sulfate. So that is how we do that one. Lead carbonate is our next one. And we have to tell the folks what we're going to be working with because there is an asterisk here. And you can just follow through the rest of these and try them and see how you are able to work through these, okay?